Hey guys, and welcome to Mangotology, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Steven Mango, and I'm an ex-Scientologist that works here on YouTube to expose Scientology. So if you want to stay up to date on all my videos, please make sure to go down below and click on that subscribe button, as well as the bell icon right next to it, so you stay notified whenever I release a new video about Scientology. So today we are going to be talking about Shelly Miscavige and the two possible sightings of Shelly outside of Scientology CST headquarters. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen my other videos on Shelly and her disappearance. If you haven't, all you have to do is go down below and click on Mangotology, my channel name, and you'll be brought and you could see my whole library of videos, including the 3 to 5 videos I would say that I've made about Shelly over the years. Now, a lot of people have been emailing me asking me to give an update or just to cover more about Shelly. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of information that I personally have about where Shelly is, but there is some information about two possible sightings, like I just said, of Shelly outside of Scientology's headquarters. So we're going to be discussing those, where she was, and what actually happened when Shelly was possibly recently seen outside of Scientology's wall in their world of Scientology's upper management. And the reason I say that, the world of upper management, is because it really is its own little sect within a sect. Now, you guys know I was a public member of Celebrity Center, so that puts me at this level of Scientology's world of control and manipulation. And even for me leaving Scientology, it was traumatizing. Never mind if I was up here in management, that is a whole nother level of control, both physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that. Then there's staff, where you live and work at Scientology. Then there's the Sea Org. Then there's management and members of the Sea Org that comprise of the international base. Now, CST headquarters is outside of the international base. CST headquarters is its own mountain desert compound that is its own world. Never mind in base, which you guys know comprises of W Miscavige, upper management. That's where the hole is, which is the prison for different Scientology executives. And if you were to try to leave in base, for example, there's a whole entire blow drill that gets brought out. Now, if you guys are wondering, is Scientology a cult? Is it not? Is there good things in Scientology, or is it just misunderstood or whatever? People always ask me if I believe Scientology is like a cult in the traditional sense. Now think about it, guys. If you try to leave Scientology's management, for example, or just Sea Org in general, and you try to leave in a whole entire blow drill, which means there's a whole team of people that come to rescue you, where when you're in the desert and there's just like one road, it's not that hard to track down where that person is going. There's lots of cameras. There's different teams of people that get sent out to get this Sea Org member and bring them back within the walls of Scientology. It's double wired barbed fencing. There are armed security guards. It's not easy to leave the Sea Org at in base. Now, Shelly is in her own world in the CST headquarters. Now, like I've said in other videos, I don't believe that Shelly would be able to leave if she is there. And I have another theory that I've been thinking about that I wanted to run by you guys before we get into the two different places that Shelly was possibly recently seen at. I feel that if Shelly is at CST headquarters, they wouldn't just let her leave, even if there were other guards around, just because she knows too much information. There's no way that they want Shelly exposed to the outside world. Now, what I was gonna start to share later, but I wanted to talk about now, is if Shelly is caught or known to be at the CST headquarters, don't you guys think that W Miscavige and other Scientology management and leaders of Scientology would say, hey, everyone knows that she's there? If they do try to infiltrate CST, if they do send FBI, or they try to send other law enforcement, these other people who have left Scientology and have possibly known that Shelly was there around the years 2007, 2008, don't you guys think that they would move her? I think that she's possibly, if she is alive, I've thought that she was possibly, killed by Miscavige For many years, that has been my stance since possibly 2013, I think, when I first said that I think that she's missing. And you've heard me say, bring out Shelly, put her on video, do something, show that she's alive. If she is, then why wouldn't Scientology want to prove their critics wrong? That's been my stance. But if she is alive, they're not going to keep her where everyone knows that she is. They're going to possibly, I think, move her to Australia, move her to South Africa. They're going to move her somewhere where there are other advanced Scientology orgs and possibly keep her there. Then again, if she's at CST headquarters or at in base, she's under management's eye within the United States in such a way that they can really surveillance her in a very tight way. So there's multiple theories about that, guys. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think, if I'm onto something with that theory, or if possibly she is at CST headquarters like multiple witnesses have said that she is. Really kind of torn back and forth between one of three theories on this. I know that you guys are worried about Shelly. You guys ask me to research and investigate, and I do my best, but again, I am one public person and I don't have access for like inside Scientology at this very exact time to be able to know that sort of information. And I'm telling you, it's probably one of a handful of people, like one of three people that possibly know. Does Tom Cruise know? A lot of people wonder. I think he might even possibly know because he's best buddies with David Miscavige. That is his own video right there. But let's talk about the sightings of Shelly. Now, this was around end of 2015 to early 2016, and this comes from Tony Ortega's blog. I'm going to link the article down below. This is what inspired this video today and what we are going to be discussing. Now, Tony was in touch with a source who he named Rachel. Now, Rachel didn't want to be personally named. She lived within 2 miles of Scientology's international base, and she didn't want, obviously, any trouble, any surveillance of her own personal life. She wants to fly under the radar, but she still wanted to inform Tony about what she saw, which was Shelly Miscavige. Now, I don't blame Rachel. I know that a lot of people who could speak out about Scientology don't, because they don't want to put themselves in the forefront or the limelight, or they don't want to draw any attention to themselves. They don't want a worldwide cult on their back. Now, I take that risk every single time I turn on my camera. Like I've told you guys, I live near multiple Scientology properties. I know it's probably not good to say or share that information, but I do. I'm not scared of them, and I really think it's important to speak out. And I know people don't want to, but I do think that if there are people who've left Scientology, it's almost their responsibility to come forward and say, hey, this is abuse. Like, we know that this person is being held against their will, for example. And there's other people. I'm doing a video soon on Hebrew Gents. I'm doing a video on elder abuse. There's so much more that is going on inside Scientology that goes beyond like, hey, there's this kid, Steve Mango, he got ripped off of $50,000. Like, boohoo, like, let's go cry a river over him losing money like years ago. Like, it's not just about like me, like, oh, I want to be some actor or something like years ago, and I was at Celebrity Center and they took advantage of me. Like, it goes so much more beyond that. Like, yes, that was my story, and yes, it's horrible that that happened, but right now there is so much more criminal activity and abuse that's happening that it goes way beyond me. It goes way beyond so much more that if people have left the Sea Org or have left Scientology, it's like, come on, people, come forward. There's information that could really help save someone's life. And you might feel like, yeah, there might be a private investigator sitting outside your house. Yeah, that's not great, but wouldn't you feel better knowing that you helped someone? And I know that not everyone has like that moral, I don't even really know if it's like a moral thing or not, but they just don't have that in their heart. Like, they'd rather just like shut up, maybe know something's going on or have some information, but it's not worth like going any further into detail with. So this woman, Rachel, like I was saying, did not disclose her name, but she was watching Leah's 2020 episode when she was, I think this was before Scientology in the aftermath, where Leah went on and she sat down and she did an interview. Is it Matt Harris, Dave Harris? One of those journalists, I don't remember his name, but she sat down with him and she did an interview. Now, within that interview, they showed a photo of Shelly, which is this photo right here. Now, this photo was taken by Claudio and Renata Lugli, I believe, I don't know if I'm pronouncing their name correctly or not, but I know that he was the tailor to David Miscavige. So of course, they were also friendly with the Miscaviges, with Shelly, as well as with Dave. So they had that photo, and that's one of few photos that have been published of Shelly Miscavige, since it's not like there's been like a lot of photographs of her on the web. You guys have probably seen as well. It's just like probably one of 5 photos that usually make their rounds in news interviews and articles and all of that. So when this Rachel woman saw the photo of Shelly, she's like, oh my God, like I've spotted her within the region of CST headquarters. Now, she was spotted at 2 possible locations. The first location was Lake Drive Hardware, just a few blocks from Lake Gregory. Now, this was the first week of December 2015. Now, Shelly wasn't seen, I'm just kind of like doing the math here, since 2007. So what is that, like 8 years later that this Rachel possibly spotted her at this Lake Drive hardware store. So you might be wondering, like, what is Shelly doing at a hardware store? So that's what I'm kind of thinking about now. Shelly was brought out in 2007 for her dad's funeral, I believe it was, and she was gone missing around like a couple months before that, maybe like 2006, 2007 time. So 8 years later, she's brought out to go to her hardware store. Now, I'm not saying that I disagree with this Rachel. She could possibly have spotted Shelly there. It's within 2 miles. It's not like she spotted her at like a McDonald's drive-through or something like that, where you're thinking like, oh, you know, people, they see something on television and they say, you know, it's in their mind like, oh yeah, I've seen Shelly Miscavige. You know, like people, you know, you hear of like a missing person or something, like, oh, I think I saw that person at the grocery store, right? And I think sometimes there is a level of that where sometimes people, they feel so strongly about something that they want it to be true. They want to spot Shelly. They want to hope that the person that they saw at the hardware store is Shelly. But if this is 2 miles outside of where Shelly's possibly being held against her will, I think there is a very good possibility that Shelly was spotted by this woman. Now, Tony apparently did a check in terms of validating who this woman actually is and that she's credible as a source. So there very much is a possibility that Shelly was seen at this hardware store. Now, I think this is very interesting to mention as well about Shelly's appearance at this hardware store. I'm just going to read a little bit of this article to you guys. Just picking up Christmas trees, meaning Rachel, that have been donated to the place where she works. Rachel's work involves helping people recovering from alcohol and substance abuse problems. And she says it's that background which made her take note when a woman walked into the store. She was a thin, smaller woman, escorted by 2 men, Rachel says, disheveled, almost like a drug addict, or like she was homeless. The woman, whom Rachel now believes was Shelly Miscavige, looked all of 55 years, had long, stringy, graying hair, and appeared frail. The 2 men with her looked younger. Rachel estimates that they were around 30 years old. They seemed to be leading her like you would someone who is under the influence of drugs or alcohol. It was awkward. She apologized for not noticing more about the young men. My attention was never on them. My attention was on her. This is what I do for a living, work with people who are in that kind of shape. And I had a thought that this woman was not supposed to be there. It was disturbing. So what I think she means by this, obviously, is that Shelly was being escorted by these 2 men who are possibly her guards or her other handlers who are taking her to this store. I'm curious what she was buying at a hardware store, why they would send Shelly out like this. Like, it seems very odd to me. But they brought Shelly out, apparently, allegedly, and she was seen at this hardware store, and she appeared very thin, frail, and it's very sad that if this was Shelly, because it's probably her only chance to get in the outside world, and she's escorted by other people. She's clearly not well, and it's just something that if this actually did occur, that they're never going to bring her back out again, in my opinion. That if there is so much public outcry and so many people who are keeping their eyes alert and so many people who are wondering where Shelly is, they're not going to bring her out again for the possibility that someone might try to grab her, rescue her. What if Shelly wanted to leave, you know, and she jumped in the car? Or if there's like so many possibilities. She could speak out, she could say something, she could be photographed, and it could turn into a whole entire thing that is so much greater than what has been publicized already. If Shelly is possibly in the local area of Scientology's Palm Springs area compound. So that happened then, and it seemed like it was going to be a one-off. But Rachel then spotted her a second time. 4 months later, around April of 2016, Rachel says she was at Goodwin & Sons Market. Now, this is a few blocks away from the hardware store when the same woman came in, allegedly Shelly, and was escorted again by 2 younger men. As you can see here on the map, the red star indicates the CST headquarters where Shelly is being held against her will. You can also see up in the left corner the Goodwin & Sons Market, as well as a Lake Drive hardware store, which is not very far located from the star on the map. Shelly had the same kind of appearance as the previous time, but she didn't notice if it was like the same exact 2 men who were like the bodyguards escorting her to Goodwin & Sons, which when I googled it appears to be like a grocery store, just kind of like general convenience store market. At this point in time, I don't know if Rachel necessarily knew that this was Shelly until she watched Leah's 2020 special, and then she kind of put 2 and 2 together. If she actually saw Shelly after that special, I would think that she would, as any normal person would, try to speak to her, try to go up, even if the guards are there, say Shelly, and see if she turns her head or anything like that. And I'm sure she's trained to not make any eye contact, not talk to anyone. If you do, then there's going to be punishment and more repercussions than she's already facing. So it seems like, in my opinion, that Rachel spotted her or realized it was her like after the fact. Now, there isn't many people, or there aren't many people rather, who have left CST headquarters and have spoken out. There is one guy by the name of Dylan Gill. And Dylan has spoken out. I think he spoke to Tony before, and he gave his opinion whether or not that this is actually the case. Could she have been spotted or have actually left the CST headquarters? And this is what he had to say. I think it's very possible that it was Shelly they saw, and if she had company, it's because of who Shelly is, he says. I was pretty positive that she's there, and this is just confirms what we all expected. Now, what he means, positive that she's there, is at the CST headquarters. I think, like I've been trying to say to you guys, I think that there is a very real possibility, 90%, that she's at the CST headquarters. Maybe possibly they moved her out of the country to another sort of location if they are afraid of law enforcement, FBI, or any sort of investigation, more missing persons searches for her. I think that she just knows too much information that they could ship her off somewhere. I think that this Rachel person could have spotted Shelly at this convenience store as well as a hardware store. I just feel like the convenience store may be more of the real possibility. I don't know why she'd be at a hardware store for any sort of purpose. Maybe it's part of whatever mission she's doing for Scientology at the current moment, and they let her out. But then again, why wouldn't they just send out any other guard or person? She says what she needs, and they'll bring it back for her. She's not the type of person, I feel like, that they would just let go out into the real world. And if you guys live in LA or anything like that, you see this Sea Org sometimes on like a Sunday, they'll have libs, which is like liberties, to have like an hour or two to go to like the grocery store. And they go in pairs, like they never travel alone. So they'll have like someone with them at all times, like to go to like the Rite Aid, to Starbucks, like Vons, you see them at the different stores around Big Blue. But this is a whole different level of Sea Org member, person of interest, a missing person. So I really don't know. Like, I'm kind of talking it out with you guys right now. I really don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, if this was possibly Shelly seen, or is this someone who's just hoping that maybe this person that they saw was Shelly and that she's okay, and even though she wasn't physically maybe well, that she's at least alive and has been outside of the walls of Scientology CST headquarters. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this whole sort of situation. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. Give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Go on over to Mango Tea if you're interested in beauty drama and beauty influencer news. That's what I do on over at that channel. It's going to be linked down below as well. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.